Welcome to the 12 Ronnies podcast with me, Jake Shaw. 12ronnies.com helps inventors and innovators to connect with entrepreneurs and investors to create commercial teams and then get their products or services to market successfully. To find out more information, go to www.12ronnies.com and follow the links below. I had the honour of attending the Like Minds Festival of Ideas at Exeter Castle recently. In between the numerous masterclasses and great keynote speeches that you can still hear going on in the background of this recording, I spoke to Courtney of BoardroomAdvisors.com and Regional Director Damian Lambkin about changing trends in work patterns and business growth and how it's being accelerated by boardroom advisors with years of experience and large networks. How grey hairs equal mistakes made, how you can make a very quick assessment of your position and what you want to achieve, and how much help you're going to need, and of course, blockchain and exporting. We're sat in the beautiful environment of Exeter Castle at the Like Minds Ideas Festival, and I'm with two gentlemen here from Boardroom Advisors. Gentlemen, could you introduce yourselves?
Okay, I'm John Courtney. I'm the founder and CEO of Boardroom Advisors, and I have with me Damian Lambkin, who is Regional Director for Southwest.
Can you tell me where Boardroom Advisors came from? Because I know, John, you've got a long history of interacting with business on a sort of in and out kind of way.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of a serial idiot, aren't I? So the idea really of Boardroom Advisors was in order to provide people who have scaled businesses to people who want to scale, and to be able to provide part-time executive directors and part-time non-executive directors in order to help them scale. So people who have been there, who've done it before, got the T-shirt, and to provide advice, and to provide part-time advice so that we have some very experienced and very senior people, but they're available on a part-time basis. It could be a day a month, it could be a day or two or even 3 days a week. So it's on an affordable basis.
And where are you guys finding these executives? Where are they coming from?
We're very rigorous in our screening procedures. So we're not finding people who have, perhaps been in merchant banks for 30 years. We're finding people who have serial entrepreneurs who have scaled businesses before.
Do you have the same kind of filtering for the SMEs and startups?
Yeah, we're more into scale-up businesses than to startups. Startups with funding who need some help, but bald startups with a plan and perhaps very early days without much funding would still perhaps find us financially a challenge. But so we're more into scale-ups who've got perhaps their first round of funding. They need to get a team together to actually get the business operating properly, and then perhaps get them ready for the next round of funding, and to have perhaps one or two big players in their slide deck and the business plan to help them get that round of funding as well.
So, Damian, your focus is the Southwest?
Yes, that's right.
So what area does that encompass?
Good question. So the Southwest at the moment is just a little bit north of Portsmouth, going across, drawing a line just underneath the bottom of Bristol, until you hit the water, basically, and down. We're an expanding team, operating in the Southwest, I think it's safe to say about 6 months now, I think. We've got an incredibly experienced team full of IT directors, environmental directors, project management from director level and down, through to marketing and engineering. We've got a really eclectic mix of people to help.
I came across an innovator recently on our platform, and he'd spent 27 years building aeroplanes as an aircraft engineer, had been made redundant, so retrained as a product designer, and come up with a collapsible bike made out of composite materials. All the oily bits are inside the frame and stuff like that. And I said to him, how are you getting it to market? And his answer was, I don't know.
And that's often the problem, that perhaps, coming out of an incubator or an accelerator, you've got 2 or 3 brilliant techies with great ideas, but actually perhaps lacking in commercial skills, perhaps lacking in experience of how to get a business properly up and running and then to scale it. And that takes a lot of experience. I've done it 7 times myself. I've made heaps of mistakes, tripped over my feet loads of times. When you do that, you learn stuff, and part of the idea here is that that experience is brought to bear to later stage startups and to scale-ups to help them not make the same mistakes twice. And we're doing it through Damian in the southwest, but we have 10 Damians. We have 10 regional directors around the country, from Yorkshire down at the moment. We're interviewing for Scotland at the moment, right down to London and the south coast. So we're not quite national, but we're getting there.
It's almost like the old analogy. It's always easier to help someone else, fix someone else's problem. It's the outside eyes being able to look inside, but the outside eyes have got some grey hair, some not so grey hair, male and female. So our approaches have varied, and because we come from different industries and we have all set up businesses. I've been running my own companies for the last 20 years. I'm 41, so I've done everything from the small one-man band type thing to having a company with over 100 staff. It's a wide, varied route to how you get to where you want to be. But the most important thing we're trying to help people now is, as they're at the scale-up point, is where do you want to be? Where do you want to go? How do you want to get there? And that's where we can start adding some real value to people's businesses, particularly in the southwest, because we've got an awful lot of owner-operator businesses who are fantastic at what they do. But to get to where they would like to be, sometimes they need a little bit of outside help. And our message, particularly here today, is saying don't be afraid to put your hand up and ask for some help. Just because we've been doing this, we've done this ourselves, but some of us are still doing this. When I run my own company as well as doing this, we're constantly at the coalface. We know what we're talking about. If you want somebody industry specific, as John said, there's 10 of me around the country, and we've got teams as well. So we've got 40 to 50 of us with such varied backgrounds that we can call on assistants. If you want someone industry specific, we'll find someone industry specific that will be able to help with your business. But the message we're trying to get across is it's not big, it's not scary. Put your hand up, ask for some help, and we can come along and see what we can do.
So a question that comes to mind then is, how do I know I need the help?
Well, I always think it's about looking at the business, what it is you want to achieve, and looking around the table and where the gaps are. Whether that's in a board situation or in a management team, is there a gap on growth or on funding or on strategy? Once you identify where the gaps are, then you kind of work out that there's perhaps a need there which we might be able to make something of.
Have you got some kind of methodology where people can actually start to see the gaps?
Oh, well done, thank you. Yes, thank you for that. Thank you for that planted question. So we've got a scale-up challenges grid, which really just looks at the various areas of scaling up a business from strategy to growth to funding to exit and all points in between. So that's kind of a starting point where that helps people identify where their gaps are. So we have a growth diagnostic as the first one, and then we'll be having other diagnostics around strategy and funding and exit coming out later on. And that goes into more depth. Some people can judge for themselves. It's a self-rating diagnostic system around growth. Are they ready for growth? Do they have things in place? And that will help to identify companies for themselves as to whether they have a growth gap and a growth potential.
People have a particular view of things. When they start off, they say, I just want to get sales. I just want to be able to sell things. Right. With your stable of grey heads,
well, not entirely grey head.
If somebody came at you, you wouldn't say, judging from what you've just said, you wouldn't say straight away, yeah, we can help you get sales. You'd actually ask them to go through their kind of
You do need to go back a little bit and say, what is it you're trying to achieve and over what period of time? So just getting sales isn't, you need to just take a step back. So what's the size of the business now? What size do you want to get it to in, let's say, a year's time? Put a time scale on it now. And then you start to put a plan around how you're going to get from A to B. So it's being strategic about it rather than just firing off tactics and hoping something sticks. That's not terribly methodical and it's not terribly efficient. So it's putting a plan together with the client, helping them understand where they are, where they want to go, where they want to get to, and how to do it. You put the plan together and you help the client then implement that plan.
Everybody says this. We're living in rather uncertain times. A lot of things that have happened perhaps since 2008 have changed the environment we're in. What are you seeing as trends of businesses that you're meeting? Where is the growth? Where's that happening?
Well, there's so many businesses in so many different directions. I mean, there's a huge trend, obviously, to tech. There always has been, hasn't there? Because that's cutting-edge stuff. What we used to call tech 20 years ago is now pretty old school. But now, AI and blockchain and all of these sort of things. So there's a huge movement in there, and not surprisingly, 20 years ago it was around, or 30 years ago it was around the internet. So there's always technological changes and movements in that way, and that creates challenges for people because it goes back to 2 or 3 techies coming up with something wonderful, but actually they're not maybe having the experience to run a business and particularly to scale a business. And that creates opportunities for us.
But with the B word coming into play, people are also looking at expanding their markets. So I have quite a lot of experience with dealing with customers in America and in China. So we're getting asked a lot more about emerging markets. Everyone's focused a lot in Europe, and no one's really certain about what's going to happen and how business is going to operate, particularly in the shipping industry and moving cargo from point A to point B. Barrier checks, and lots of questions don't have answers. So particularly over the last few months, people have been looking at how we can start doing things further afield. Is it more efficient? Is it easier for us to do that now? And it's applying that and saying, well, can we break you into an American market or a Chinese market? They're massive markets. Why can't we start introducing ourselves to them? And we're trying to help companies expand on their thinking in some respects. On the flip side of that, we're also helping, again, particularly in the Southwest, we've got family-run businesses, but they've all got great ideas, and if you took all their ideas, their businesses would flourish. But they're families. They don't always agree. Sometimes there's a clash of minds. And that's where else we can come in as well and start helping and focusing people more into the areas they want to go to. I think, as John said, there are so many different trends and businesses and opportunities that are available now, and I think that's something to focus on, is steer away from the doom and gloom. There is new opportunity, and it's how businesses, particularly in our region, can start focusing on those opportunities. We just brush the dust off. Let's start looking, how is business going to start moving forward for you? And that's where we can really come and start helping add some value.
So you mentioned 2 things there. One is overseas markets and markets outside of the domestic market.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned blockchain. With blockchain, you've got the ability to actually make smart contracts with partners overseas. You can actually transfer funds, or at least wealth, backwards and forwards very, very quickly,
Sure.
very, very easily. I don't know what the exact percentage is, but an incredible amount of British industries don't actually export anything. They're purely domestic ones.
Quite.
Would you say that all businesses now need to be looking, because we've got things like blockchain, which means that being able to be born global is going to be a bigger thing?
There's a danger, isn't there, in generalising. I think, every business has its own challenges and its own opportunities, and for us it's always about trying to understand what those are, and then seeing if we have the skills and the experience to help those clients with those challenges. They may be blockchain, they may be AI, they may be export, they may be growing a home market, they may be preparing a company for sale. There may be other challenges in the business. So it's just understanding what the business challenges are. We've got 50 people now. They're all seriously experienced. So we can tackle a lot of situations. But it's finding out what the client's needs are, seeing where the fit is, and then taking it from there, really.
I'd absolutely echo that, but I'd also add, with the advances we've had in technology, like John was saying earlier on, 20, 30 years ago, the internet was starting out. I've got more technology here in my phone now than we did 20, 30 years ago with a computer. I think the world has actually become a smaller place to do business. When I say that, we could actually do business with people on the other side of the planet with great ease. And with the advances like blockchain, with shipping advancements, and with the internet being what it is, we have massive opportunity.
Last question. So I'm a scale-up. One from both of you. One piece of advice that if you're listening to this podcast that you guys can tell the listeners right now will change their state right now. What's the one thing that you would advise them to do?
I think is work out where the gaps are in your business and your business model. Don't be afraid to ask for help, and don't think it won't be affordable. You can have a big hitter, but it's affordable if you have a small slice of a big hitter, and it's much better to do that, whether it's us or somebody else. It's better to do that than it is to downgrade a job to a manager or an exec. Have director level people, but just have a small slice of them. That would be my advice.
Because those people are going to bring their knowledge and experience.
Oh, their knowledge, their experience, their contacts. The grey hairs in each one of those grey hairs is a mistake, so it helps the people not make those mistakes again. There's so many benefits. And director level people think strategically rather than on a scattergun approach. So have a small slice of somebody good. That would be doesn't have to be us, but that would be my advice to a scale-up business.
You've taken all the really good answers then, haven't you? What direction do you want to go? And do you want to still be doing this in 25, 30 years? An exit isn't a bad thing to want to plan for. Succession planning is always there, and there are ways of doing a bit of both. Don't be afraid to put your hand up and ask for help. And if you're not sure where you want to be or where you want to go, put your hand up. And then we can come along, have a chat, and see if we can't help you.
Damian Lambkin and John Courtney from boardroomadvisors.co.uk. Did I get that right?
You got that right.
Boardroomadvisors.co.uk. Advisors, not advisor. Boardroomadvisors.co.uk. Guys, thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the festival.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening. Please sign up to 12ronnies.com and subscribe to our groups and YouTube channel so you never miss a podcast from 12ronnies.com.